Welcome to Medicos. Today we will talk about the blood supply of the brain, the detailed blood supply of the brain, the branches of the main arteries, then their further branches, and the supply of a specific area of the brain after that branches. So first of all, the main branch which supplies the brain is the internal carotid artery. The internal carotid artery is further divided into different branches like ophthalmic artery, posterior communicating artery, choroidal artery, anterior cerebral artery and middle cerebral artery. So first of all, ophthalmic artery. The ophthalmic artery supply the frontal area of scalp, eye, ethmoid plus its frontal sinuses and the dorsum of the nose. Then posterior communicating artery. The posterior communicating artery form the circle of the Willus. The formation of circle of the Willus is by the contribution of the posterior communicating artery. Then choroidal artery. The choroidal artery supplies the right plexus of the third and the lateral ventricle, also the optic tract, lateral geniculate body, internal capsule, and crus cerebral. So these four specific areas of brain are supplied by the choroidal artery. Then anterior cerebral artery. The branch of internal carotid artery have two further branches, cortical branch and central branch. The cortical branch supply the medial surface of the cerebral cortex plus parieto-occipital sulcus and also the strip area. Then the central branch of the anterior cerebral artery supply the lentiform nucleus, caudate nucleus, and internal capsule. Then middle cerebral artery. The middle cerebral artery have two further branches like internal cerebral artery, like cortical branch and central branch. The cortical branch supply the lateral surface of cerebral cortex plus all motor precentral gyrus except leg area. Then central branch. Central branch supply the lentiform nucleus, caudate nucleus, and internal capsule. So it was all about the internal carotid artery, the main supply of the brain. Vertebral artery and the basilar artery. So for the second branch main is the vertebral artery. The vertebral artery is divided into different branches like meningeal branch, posterior spinal artery, anterior spinal artery, posterior inferior cerebellar artery, and medullary artery. The meningeal branch supply the dura and the bone cranium like dura mater, and the bony cranium is supply the meningeal artery. Then the posterior spinal artery. The posterior spinal artery supplies the posterior 1/3 of the spinal cord. Then anterior spinal artery. The anterior spinal artery supplies the anterior 2/3 of the spinal cord. Then posterior inferior cerebellar artery. It supplies the vermis, medulla, cerebellum, and the choroid plexus of the fourth ventricle. These all are supplied with the posterior inferior cerebellar artery branch of vertebral artery. Then medullary artery. The medullary artery supplies the medulla oblongata. Then we discuss about the basilar artery. So basilar artery is another important artery which supply the brain. Then further branches are the pontine artery, Labriynthan artery, anterior inferior cerebral artery, superior cerebral artery, and posterior cerebral artery. First of all, pontine artery. Pontine artery supplies the pons. Labriynthan artery supplies the internal capsule. Anterior inferior cerebral artery supplies the anterior plus inferior surface of cerebellum plus pons and upper medulla. The superior cerebral artery, branch of basilar artery, supplies the superior cerebellum, pons, pineal gland, and superior medullary velum. Then posterior cerebral artery. The posterior cerebral artery supplies the right plexus of the third plus lateral ventricle. Also, it has two branches, cortical branch and central branch. The cortical branch supplies the temporal lobe, occipital lobe, and the visual cortex. Then central supply the lentiform nucleus, thalamus, pineal gland, and middle geniculate body. So it was all about the main branches of brain arterial supply. ये branches हैं बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हैं, ये वाइवास में पूछी जाती हैं आपसे लाजमी तौर पे. इनकी ब्लड सप्लाई है जो कि मैंने आपको फ्लो शीट में बना के समझाई है. इट विल बी इजी टू लर्न. थैंक यू.